Welcome to Inside the Birds. Our big game coverage is presented by Green Lawn Fertilizing. We're very excited to have Green Lawn Fertilizing on board to bring you guys all of the Birds coverage leading off to kickoff. Hello and welcome to the Inside the Birds NFL Weekly Preview Show, the final one of the NFL season, a Super Bowl edition, and it's the Eagles and Chiefs for the second time in 3 years. I'm Geoff Mosher, and I promised to have done this show. I've done it all year long, as most of you know. I promised you I was going to do one more show previewing the Super Bowl. I said I would do it last week, and just with all the travel coming back from Mobile, Alabama, the Senior Bowl, then I had some family things going on. Then I was right off to New Orleans and didn't really get a chance to do my own personal spin on the game. We've covered it from every single angle all throughout the week. New Orleans was a great time. It's a great host city. It is a world-class entertainment and food nightlife type city. Although, to be honest with you, while I did take advantage of the great food, not so much the nightlife, as we were doing a lot of work down there, myself, Adam, and Andrew DeCecco, and I hope everybody had a chance to check out everything that we did from a podcast standpoint, YouTube video standpoint, website standpoint. Andrew wrote some great stories on InsideTheBirds.com, and if I can pat Inside the Birds on the back a little bit, there may be an outlet in New Orleans that covered the game, the teams, maybe with more depth than Inside the Birds, but pound for pound for being a three-person outlet, and of course we had Jason Avant down there and Greg Cosell, who are part of our family, but for mainly being a three-person content company with myself, Adam, and Andrew, I'd put our volume of work and our depth of work up against any single outlet that was there. The New York Post had 8 people there. I'm sure the Philadelphia Inquirer had a small army there. Other great outlets who also do a great job have so many people to cover every single angle. And if you look at the work that we did, and I want to thank our friends at 97.3 ESPN in South Jersey for a great partnership that we had, where we were able to do Radio Row for the Drive Time show on 97.3 with Mike Gill and Scott Grayson and his crew. We shared content. We did co-hosting with them, and we did interviews on Radio Row all throughout the week, and we were able to podcast those for you. I hope everybody really got a chance to enjoy the week as we try to bring the sights and sounds of New Orleans to you, so that it almost feels like you're there if you can't be there, or you get a chance to listen to some of the legends of the game. Emmitt Smith was on, Torrey Smith we had, Malcolm Jenkins we had, some really awesome people involved in the NFL. And then also we can take a walk down memory lane with some of them and reflect on their great careers and great games. But then we also get into the meat and potatoes of the game itself. So the Inside the Birds pregame show is out. And if you haven't heard it yet, I definitely suggest that you do. Myself, Adam, and Greg Cosell. So I'm not going to go on, and repeat and regurgitate all the things that we spoke about for this game, but there were a couple of things that I just wanted to put my own personal, thought process into, my own spin on, and leave you with in this final episode of this show of the season. I've thought a lot all week, and I've talked to people smarter than me, both coaches, players from all teams all around the NFL, about this matchup as it pertains to the coaching, the chess match, the cat and mouse game. You have an all-timer in Andy Reid versus an all-timer in Vic Fangio. And on the other side, you have, I can't quite call Kellen Moore an all-timer quite yet, but he's done a good job with the Eagles offense. He's going to wind up being the Saints head coach, barring something unforeseen. And he's earned that right. He's had number one offenses in the past, and he's done what he was supposed to do here with the Eagles as far as delivering them an offense capable of making it to the Super Bowl. And he goes up against an all-timer in Steve Spagnuolo. So in these four main coaches, you have three all-timers, and maybe Vic Fangio. I don't know if Vic Fangio will make the Hall of Fame. He probably needs a little more of rings than playoff success. Maybe I don't think he'll be a head coach again. I don't think he wants to be, but if he can get a few, he's been to a Super Bowl before as a coordinator. I think, did he win one? Yeah, he won with the 49ers, right? As their defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, over Baltimore when Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. That actually was won by Baltimore, now that I think about it. So he does not have a ring unless I've missed someone along the way. But he's been a very successful defensive coordinator. I think it's fair to say his influence on the game has been monumental. And so maybe there'll be a place for him in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he just needs one ring to solidify that. And maybe he gets another if he's fortunate enough to win Super Bowl LIX and then get back. It doesn't sound like he's going to call it a career anytime soon. So you have three all-timers and a guy in Kellen Moore who's very good at what he does. He's going to be a head coach, and he has a chance now to put his place in history if he gets a Super Bowl championship as an offensive coordinator before becoming a head coach. So I've been thinking of this cat and mouse game. And who has to change the most? Who has to adapt and do something different the most? Or do they have to at all? And I do think they do. When you have a team as good as the Chiefs versus a team as good as the Eagles, you need to do something to get yourself an advantage if you don't think you're the best position group versus their best position group. Speaking of things that are green, if you're already stressing about your lawn this spring, head over to our friends at Green Lawn Fertilizing. They can help. They're based right here in the Philadelphia area. These guys are the experts in this region's conditions, including PA, New Jersey, and Delaware. They know how that tough drought was last year and created a custom blend and approach that will help your lawn recover. Everybody remembers last year, it looked like as dry as the desert, just one brown lawn after another brown lawn, no rain. It killed neighborhoods. It made our beautiful lawns look, well, not so beautiful. So be sure to sign up now and receive 10% off at Green Lawn Fertilizing. And I'm told this is a very limited time offer. So head to the link in our description or greenlawnfertilizing.com/inside-the-birds to take advantage. You got to be stressed out. Be stressed out about Jake Elliott lining up for a 55-yard field goal in the big game. That should be the only thing you're stressed about this season. Call Green Lawn Fertilizing today. So let's take the Eagles offense. No, let's take the Chiefs offense versus the Eagles defense. The Chiefs have a good offense. It's not an explosive one. It's not a great offense. It's got a great quarterback. It's got a great head coach. It's got a great scheme, and they certainly have some great players. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback. You have a Hall of Fame tight end. You have on the interior offensive line some really good talent at center, at right guard. You have some receivers who have been in the game for a while, like DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown. But you don't have an all-time offense. This isn't the offense that, of 5 or 6 years ago that had Tyreek Hill and was just so explosive. This is a different kind of offense. And it's going up against the number one defense in the league. And so when you look at this, when you're Andy Reid, who has never been afraid to check the ego at the door and really do what's best for the overall team, and he's never been afraid to be a chameleon. If you remember 2 years ago when these teams met in the Super Bowl, he was running the ball a lot more than people associate Andy Reid running the ball with. So that's what makes him great. He knows that there's more than one way to skin a cat. He has basically been operating with a makeshift left tackle for a while, all year long, really. Many teams would lose their left tackle and not make it this far, but he has. And he's been operating with an offense that has lacked some explosion. He has some explosive players, Xavier Worthy being one, but the way they're defended week in and week out, and again in this Super Bowl most likely, is teams do not let them get over the top. Teams will not allow them to have free rides down the sidelines or deep posts. They will defend the Chiefs and make them work their way up and down the field. And the Eagles are experts at that, and they've done that to opponents all year long. And the Chiefs have seen it all year long and operated that way. But in my mind, I can't think that Andy Reid has watched this Eagles defense and watched them produce turnovers at a torrid rate over the last, 3 weeks, 4 really, 3 games in the playoffs, and think that it's going to be easy for him to work his way down the field. I can't think that Andy Reid is going to say, we're just simply going to do what we do, not turn the ball over, we'll execute in the red zone. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Andy Reid will feel like there are some advantages he's going to have to work to gain. One of them might be going no huddle. I say that because the Chiefs don't typically operate no huddle. The Eagles use no huddle. We have talked about that all year long. The Eagles use no huddle quite a bit, maybe second or third most in the league. I know Washington was the NFL leader. I don't know where the Eagles rank, but they use it a lot. And they use it advantageously, and Jalen Hurts has become an expert on when to dial it up and when to use tempo and when to slow it down. He's very good at that. The Chiefs don't typically do that. So why would they do that in the Super Bowl? Well, a couple of reasons. One, it could be a matchup thing. If the Chiefs come out with 2 tight ends on the field or some type of 12 or 21 personnel, there's a chance Vic Fangio may respond in those situations with base defense, which puts that 5-man front on the field. And when they have the 5-man front on the field, they have Jordan Davis usually lined up over the center. And that means you have to take somebody off the field. And usually in those situations, it is Cooper DeJean. So if you watch the tape and you see Cooper DeJean has been far more impressive of a football player and far more impactful of a football player. And he's probably the best matchup the Eagles have on Travis Kelce. So if I'm Andy Reid, the first thing I may want to do is come out in 12 personnel, 21 personnel, use a fullback, see if Vic Fangio uses base defense to defend those packages. If he does, and you can move the ball, and I think that they would still be able to move the ball. They can still pass out of those formations. They can run, they can pass because they have personnel to do it. Then you might see them use no huddle to keep the Eagles in base defense, which keeps Cooper DeJean off the field, theoretically, if this is how Vic responds, to keep Jordan Davis on the field. We know that when Jordan Davis has to play more snaps and then has to play it while in against a tempo offense, he's going to get tired. He's going to lose his leverage. He's going to play high. We've seen that for 3 years now. I know Jordan Davis has played better in the playoffs and made some impact plays. Guess what? Playing 13 snaps a game. You better be playing your ass off when you're only playing 13 snaps a game. I mean, come on. If you're only playing 13 snaps a game, you better be giving it your all. But we know that Jordan Davis can wear down. We know he's a very big man who doesn't typically play a whole lot of snaps. The Eagles are their best when they're in nickel, when they've got Milton Williams and Jalen Carter lined up over the guards with some wide spaces and just teeing off, rushing the passer. That's what they're best. So if I'm Andy Reid, I may, and I'm not afraid to make a change, I may want to come out in less 11 personnel, more heavier personnel, 2 tight ends or a fullback and a tight end, see if Vic responds with base defense, and then see if I can still move the ball against that defense and use tempo. So tempo will keep Cooper DeJean off the field because it'll limit the ability to substitute for Vic Fangio. It'll keep Jordan Davis on the field for longer periods of time. And what tempo would do in that situation is prevent the Eagles from even substituting up front and getting other linemen on. If they're able to work on 11, 12, 13 play drive the way Washington did early on against a base defensive look from Kansas City, from the Eagles, if Kansas City can move the ball, they will be able to tire out the defensive front of the Eagles. So that is an area that I think Andy Reid could look at and say, this might benefit us. Sure, I'm taking an extra receiver off the field. So, whether it's Marquise Brown or Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm not stressing the Eagles vertically. I'm not giving Patrick Mahomes a whole lot of speed to work with outside of Xavier Worthy, but that's okay. I'm willing to make that trade for the advantage of trying to tire the Eagles out and with their base defense and keeping Cooper DeJean off the field. Now, there's a chance that Vic Fangio would say, screw it. I don't care if you're going to play two tight ends or a tight end and a fullback or come out in a heavy package. I'm still going to defend in nickel. The Eagles have done this before. They did this against the Ravens. All right. They're not afraid to play nickel. But if they do that, then Andy Reid can turn around and say, okay, just like 2 years ago, I'm going to try to run the ball on you more. I've got bigger personnel on the field now. And I am not only going to try to run the ball, but if you're a nickel, I'm going to try to catch you off guard in your alignments. I'm going to try to, again, this is all predicated on if Andy Reid tries to use tempo. All right. I'm going to hit you with maybe some quarterback run, and I'm going to do a couple of things differently if you're a nickel with my bigger personnel to try to wear you down early. Kind of like a fight. You're not going for the knockout. You are a jabber, and that's what the Chiefs do really, really well. They'll body blow, body blow, body blow, body blow. They may never hit you with an uppercut, but they can body blow all day long. And they've done that against some teams already this year. And that's exactly why when the Chiefs have the ball in the fourth quarter, everybody's worried if it's a one-possession game. They're not worried that Patrick Mahomes is going to strike a 35-yard, 40-yard play. They're worried that Patrick Mahomes is going to convert every third and fourth down on the drive because that's what Patrick Mahomes does. So that's where I can see Andy Reid maybe changing some things up that he, wouldn't normally do or hasn't normally done this year. I don't think Kellen Moore has to change a whole lot. The Chiefs have a very good defense, but what the Eagles do well is turnkey right now. They run the ball really well. They have a great offensive line. They have a great running back who was Offensive Player of the Year. At any given moment, Saquon Barkley can pop a run for 40, 50, 60 yards. The Eagles are also not an explosive overall team offense, but they are an explosive running team. And they can get explosive plays from Saquon Barkley at any time to the point where now they expect it. Honestly, who doesn't expect it? You know that even if Saquon Barkley has a 3-yard run, a 2-yard run, a 1-yard run, stop behind the line of scrimmage, every time he has a run that's under 5 yards, he's closer to that next run where he's going to pop one. And no matter what defense the Eagles have played this year, he's been able to pop one. And so I don't think that Kellen Moore has to do a whole lot differently. Does he have to prepare for in the passing game for some of the exotic looks that Steve Spagnuolo will throw, especially on third down? Yeah, absolutely. But that's not doing something extra. That's just game planning each week for your opponent, providing some answers. But even if those answers don't work, I think you're going to see the Eagles offense look the way it has for much of the year. If it's not rhythmic, and it could come out and be rhythmic like it was against Washington, like it was against the Steelers. But I tend to think that against Spags, it's going to suffer some pitfalls in the passing game. But Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni and the offensive staff, they know this. They know that even if Spags is able to get some free rushers and some hits on Jalen Hurts, and he's going to take some sacks, he might pat the ball back there. They know that Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the ball over when he gets hit and when he gets sacked. And that's a major advantage. It is. It's a coaching advantage to know that your quarterback might get hit, might take some sacks, but he's going to hold on to the football. And once or twice, he might even pop a run or a pass down the sideline, which he does so well to A.J. Brown, that you don't have to change what you do that much offensively. Your offense matches up well against any defense because you can run the ball and you can be explosive in your run game. And if the opponent is going to blitz and play man, the Eagles have been well prepared for that. Jalen Hurts has been well prepared for that. The times that Jalen Hurts struggles is against teams that can blitz with a zone behind it. They can hurry him up because he perceives the pressure. So even if they don't get there, and then the windows, because it's zone coverage, not man to man, don't exactly leave players wide open. All right. So those are the times, and I'm sure Steve Spagnuolo has taken a note of this, that Jalen Hurts will struggle. But I don't think that that means Kellen Moore has to do anything radically different. He's going to run the ball. He's going to try to use the RPO game, try to get Dallas Goedert involved early, get the short passing game involved early. And if the Chiefs show a look, whether it's a man coverage, a blitz with man coverage, or whether it's a one high structure that's going to leave A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith one-on-one down each sideline, Jalen Hurts will pop that throw. He will absolutely pop that throw, and Kellen Moore knows it. And it doesn't happen often. Teams try to limit that against the Eagles, but you can't play the same defense every snap. And every once in a while, Jalen sees it, and he knows he has that one-on-one on the outside, and he'll throw it. So that is the Eagles' offense. That's what I expected to be against the Chiefs. It's been good enough to get them here. It's been the backbone of their success, especially the rushing offense, giving the ball to Saquon Barkley, getting yourself a lead because he pops one 40, 50, 60 yards. And I don't think that's going to change. I really don't. When I look at what Andy Reid has to do against the Eagles defense versus what Kellen Moore has to do against the Chiefs defense, I think it might be incumbent upon Andy to just switch things up a little more. And that's not saying that's a weakness, by the way. I don't want people to think I'm saying, well, that means the Chiefs offense is, incompetent or not capable. It's got challenges. That left side of the line that we've talked about is going to give them problems. But hey, they made it here despite having problems on the left side of the line already. So they can withstand it. But now this is the Super Bowl. Now you're going up against the number one defense. And I just think in the way these teams play football offensively, it'll probably be the Chiefs that have to adjust a little bit more and pull something out that the opponent hasn't seen than the Eagles doing it. So we'll see. This ain't the little itty bitty teeny tiny bowl. This is Super Bowl LIX. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is key to hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BIRDSPREGAME, all one word. That's code BIRDSPREGAME for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Let's go to the other side and talk about Vic Fangio and Steve Spagnuolo, who might have to do something different. In this case, I think it's actually Vic Fangio. And you're saying, well, wait a minute. You just said the Eagles have the number one defense. Why should they have to do something different? And it's because I'm anticipating that Andy Reid's going to have a plan to do some things offensively that are going to challenge what the Eagles do defensively. Vic likes to play a too high structure. He'll come out of it. He'll start too high and then bring a safety down. That's fine. But if he had his druthers, he would love to play too high the entire game if he could and just rely on a front four pass rush to get home. And a lot of times for the Eagles, that has worked. But the Chiefs have overcome this. The Chiefs want you to play too high and leave that middle of the field open so they can work the ball to Travis Kelce. They can work the middle of the field. They can work the flats. You want to take a safety, two safeties, and put them deep. The Chiefs will throw that pass to the flat consistently more than anyone. They'll throw it to the hooks, they'll throw the flats, and they'll do a great job of it. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They've dealt with their issue on the offensive line. They've dealt with good front four rushes. I mean, the Texans have a very, very good edge rush. The Texans edge rushers of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are no better or worse than Nolan Smith and Josh Sweat. In fact, you can make an argument they're better. I don't know if their total front four rush is as good as the Eagles, but I'm talking from an edges standpoint, and the Chiefs having to worry about their left tackle situation and the right tackle, who's just he wakes out of bed and they throw a flag on him. All right. Juwan Taylor gets out of bed, yellow flag. He held something. So they've had to worry about that against very good edge rushers already. So I don't think that's going to be keeping Andy Reid up at night. If Vic wants to play too high and zone and just rely on the front four, the Chiefs will be ready for that. And they will work the flats. The Chiefs led the NFL this year in yards gained on passes thrown behind the line of scrimmage. All right. So they will absolutely have no problem being patient, being methodical, taking what the defense gives, the way Washington tried to and had some success with, but couldn't secure the ball. Go look at the stats from that game. The Commanders didn't have trouble moving the ball against the Eagles defense. They had trouble protecting the ball. The Chiefs have 2 turnovers since week 8. And they both came in the same game. So the Chiefs they had a turnover problem earlier in the year. They've been fine over the second half of the year and just 1 turnover in the playoffs. Okay, so the Chiefs will protect the ball way better than the Commanders did based on what they've done for 3 months now. And they will have no problem taking what the defense gives. So that means Vic may have to do something differently. He may have to come out of his comfort zone. He may have to play more man coverage, which is dangerous. You play man coverage, now you leave guys like Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce single covered. That could be a problem. Okay, so he may have to play more man coverage. Now, you can play man coverage and still use that safety in the box as a bracket guy. So fine, you want to bring C.J. Gardner or Reed Blankenship down as a bracket guy to help Cooper DeJean if you're in nickel against Travis Kelce? Sure. Well, now you got DeAndre Hopkins, and now you got Xavier Worthy to worry about in man coverage. Okay, that's a poison you're going to have to pick. You may have to blitz a little bit more if you're Vic Fangio. Now, maybe it's not even blitzing, but maybe it's showing blitz. Vic's not a huge, let's put 3 guys in or 2 guys in the A gaps and show a 6-man front and then just drop everybody. He's not Mike Zimmer like that. He's not Spagnuolo like that. He's more sim pressure, meaning I'll drop my edge late and bring a linebacker or a safety or a nickel. It's still a 4-man rush, but it confused the quarterback. It's not really about confusing the quarterback more so than the protection scheme for the offensive lineman. But Vic has done small things. He'll bring Zach Bond down on the line of scrimmage for a 5-man line. He'll bring Zach Bond down on the edge and kind of kicks Nolan Smith inside a little. And what that does is it gives you a little bit of beef if you think they're going to run the ball. It gives you a 5-man front. And B, if the offense is going to pass, it makes all 5 offensive linemen, in most cases, have to protect individually. 5 out, 5 pass rushers, 5 linemen. That's 1-on-1. All right. So Vic may have to bring a guy down on the line of scrimmage, show 5, and make the Chiefs change their protection strategy and slide it one way and make sure each guy is protecting one person, right? And then, you know what? I wouldn't be afraid to rush 5 if I was Vic, because that gets the left guard, Mike Caliendo, 1-on-1 against Milton Williams. And it gets the left tackle, Joe Thuney, who's moonlighting as a left tackle. He's a left guard playing left tackle, 1-on-1 against Josh Sweat. Or what you do is you show those 5 up front, and then you drop Bond at the last second because you've already made the offensive line change its protection scheme and slide perhaps one way, but now you're dropping Bond, right? And then you can work some stunts in there to throw the offensive line completely off guard. So I can see them doing that more so than Vic likes to do. More man coverage, more stunting, more twisting, more things to try to mess with the protection scheme up front to just make life a little harder on Patrick Mahomes. Move him off his spot, maybe hurry him, maybe get a free rusher on him. Mahomes has taken some sacks this year. Now, he's another guy who doesn't turn the ball over a lot, but he has taken some sacks. So I can see a scenario, especially if on the first drive or two, Vic's just doing what he normally does, and the Chiefs are doing what they normally do, which is I'm just going to dink and dunk and pick you apart and roll down the field here and there. And you're trying to force me to turn the ball over, but guess what? I don't turn the ball over. And I'll even get a few runs with my quarterback in here. So Vic may be the one who has to adjust more so than Spags. What's Spags going to do to adjust to Saquon Barkley? Play a heavier front? No, I mean, Saquon Barkley has run against every single front. He's going to he just has to you have to be disciplined on defense against the Eagles, and you need good linebacker play to get off those blocks and to get to Barkley and swarm and gang tackle. That's a coaching point. That's not really a change in philosophy. It's not really a change in what you do overall when you say, let's get a bunch of guys around the ball carrier. And as far as pass defense is concerned, I think he's going to try to confuse Jalen Hurts the way he confuses a lot of quarterbacks. He's going to try to show exotic looks. He's going to try to show multiple fronts. He is going to play guys up on the line of scrimmage, then drop them, but bring somebody else and see if that makes Jalen kind of pat the ball, hold on, and get some sacks. And he's going to hope and pray that maybe this is the day that Jalen turns the ball over because he gets hit a couple of times where he wasn't expecting it. But as far as doing something radically different, I don't think Steve can or needs to. I think he just has to hope that the plan works, that the guys tackle Saquon, that they put the Eagles in some difficult down and distance scenarios on third down, keep the Eagles away from fourth and short. And then when you get them into those third down scenarios, bam, you do what you can do. And, with your blitz packages and, maybe he plays a little bit more zone in his blitzes behind his rushes, but I don't think that's something that Spags hasn't done before. That's not, to me, a radical change. Spags doesn't blitz as much as people think he does. He comes from the Jim Johnson school, the late, great Jim Johnson, former Eagles defensive coordinator, of showing like you're going to blitz and then dropping guys back. Or if you do blitz, you're actually blitzing someone who you didn't think was coming, and the guys you thought was coming, they drop back, and now your offensive line protection scheme is all out of whack, and you get free rushers. Wink Martindale does that too, but he blitzes a lot. Todd Bowles does that too, but he does blitz a lot. When you look at the number or percentage of blitzing that Spags does, no, it's more about showing that, and then eventually it becomes a four-man rush that somehow, one guy doesn't get blocked up because the protection scheme got all messed up. So that's who I think will have to change. I think Andy and Vic, maybe the two best coaches, not to take anything away from Spags, maybe be the ones that adapt and change the most. So we'll see. I think it's a fantastic cat and mouse game. And I'll end it on this. I think that this is going to be a game won in the 20s, not the 30s, because I think both of these teams will probably struggle to settle in the first quarter. There'll be nerves. There'll be anticipate. I mean, these are two really good teams. I could see some punts early on in the game before they both settle in offensively. I don't think it's going to be a turnover heavy game. And the thing that these two teams do well is they play ball possession football. And I expect both teams to be able to orchestrate some fairly long drives. And the key will be, can you turn those drives into touchdowns? Can you not settle for field goals? But both of these teams are very good at long, methodical, deliberate drives that soak up a lot of clock. And that's why what that does is that kind of football limits possessions, and it usually results in games that are in the 20s and not the 30s. So, I already gave my score prediction. It's on the Inside the Birds pregame show. Myself, Adam, Greg Cosell, and this show all year long, I've done that sort of an against the spread. So the Eagles are getting 1.5. Last we checked from our friends at DraftKings. I know that the line is subject to change, but I would take the Eagles with the points, and you'll have to check the pregame show to find out my overall pick. But I do think this game will be less high scoring than maybe some feel. I know some people have predicted like 38-35 or 36-33 or this, that, and the other. I think it'll be a more moderately scoring game because I think both teams are going to move the ball pretty efficiently. Sometimes probably have to kick field goals. and then other times they'll be able to punch it in, or they'll go for it and either get it or not get it. But I don't think this is going to be one of those the ball's in the air and touchdown here and touchdown there. It's not the way both of these teams typically operate. Listen, I want to thank everybody all year long for watching this show. I've had a blast doing it. It was the first year I've done it on Inside the Birds, and we'll do it again next year as well. And it's amazing. We started off week 1 previewing every single game week after week after week after week. And here we are, one last game of the year. And then we'll turn the page pretty quickly into the off season. So again, thanks to all of you who have listened along the way, who have watched along the way. I really appreciate it. And with a couple hours to go before kickoff, I hope you found it enjoyable. All right. I will see everybody on the Inside the Birds post-game show. Enjoy your Super Bowl LIX.